Chapter 1430. Normally, it would take about 3 to 4 years for a baby to have memories. However, it would take about 5 to 6 years for a baby to have complete memories. However, for Duguxiu, his memories started when he was 2 years old. Most of the children in the boundless world were just learning to walk at the age of 2. However, for the princes and princesses of the later Qin Palace, 2 years old was the true beginning of their lives. The princes and princesses of the later Qin dynasty were forced to be separated from their mothers at birth. They grew up drinking the milk of wild beasts. Therefore, their physiques were much stronger than the princes and princesses of other countries. Duguxiu was undoubtedly the most muscular among the princes and princesses of the later Qin dynasty. He grew up drinking the milk of a lioness. There was no weakness in his personality. From the moment he started drinking milk, in order to eat more milk, he pushed away all the other cubs and monopolized the lionesses. There were already signs of it. The overbearing side of his personality was something that an emperor must have. It was also because of his personality that the later Qin emperor had always doted on Duguxiu. The other princes and princesses could only secretly envy Duguxiu. Everyone thought that it was because of Duguxiu's extraordinary talent and that he was favored by the heavens. Only Duguxiu and his mother knew that it was because of the black Qilin blood in Duguxiu's body. Duguxiu already knew that he wasn't the child of the later Qin emperor from the moment he could understand things. However, this didn't make him feel inferior because in Duguxiu's world, strength was everything. The leader of the Black Qilin clan, He Yao, was stronger than the later Qin emperor. Therefore his father was He Yao. This was Duguxiu's way of dealing with people. He wanted the best in everything, whether it was his biological father, his woman, or anything else. This belief was firmly believed by Duguxiu for a very long time afterwards. That was until the first accident of his life. That accident was Yun Sheng. When Duguxiu first met Yun Sheng, he would never have thought that this little girl would be his destined jinx. Before meeting Yun Sheng, the women that Duguxiu liked were the women in his crown prince residence. They were almost the same type. They were either sexy and voluptuous or good at dancing. They were also women who knew how to read people's expressions to please him. However, Yun Sheng was only a half-grown child at that time. She was still young and inexperienced, and her appearance was barely passable. The only thing that left a deep impression on Duguxiu was Yun Sheng's eyes. She had a pair of eyes that were clearer than any other woman's. But even so, Duguxiu still hated Yun Sheng more than he liked her. If he really had to describe her, she was like an immature green plum. If he ate her, it would be so sour that he would have a toothache. In any case, she was definitely not the type that Duguxiu liked. The reason why Duguxiu noticed Yun Sheng was because of another person. That person was the Immortal Residence's Divine Wind King. He was also one of the successors of the 5 great countries. The Divine Wind King was a rare opponent that Duguxiu liked. It was also because the Divine Wind King saw Yun Sheng in a different light that he racked his brains to capture Yun Sheng. He wanted to use her to restrict the Divine Wind King. However, Duguxiu did not expect that he would fall into the hands of Yun Sheng. He almost died in the beast tide. That cunning woman actually stripped him naked and hung him on the road. To the incomparably arrogant Duguxiu, this was a humiliation that could not be washed away. Later on, he found out about that woman's true identity. However, when he saw her, she was already a completely different person. She gradually grew up, her features becoming more and more exquisite. Her figure was like a willow tree in spring, transforming day by day. Duguxiu understood that this was a woman with limitless potential. There would be a day when she would grow into the most eye-catching woman on the continent. He wanted this kind of woman. Yun Sheng was the only woman who could be the mistress of the Crown Prince residence. She was a woman who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. However, when Duguxiu put down his pride and went to propose, a person that Duguxiu hated for his entire life appeared. That was Zhou State's dethroned Crown Prince Yi Baiming. That man was even more cunning than a fox. He snatched Yun Sheng before him and set up an engagement with her. Duguxiu would never forget this kind of humiliation of snatching food from the tiger's mouth. However, Duguxiu was not someone who would give up so easily. He made use of Yun Sheng's sentimental nature and captured her to later Qin. Duguxiu originally thought that as long as Yun Sheng fell into his hands, she would be like the other women in the Crown Prince residence and submit to him in the end. That damned Yun Sheng, however, proposed to be a pair for life. Duguxiu only snorted at this. In Duguxiu's world, the only thing a woman had to do was submit. Even if Yun Sheng was special to him, he would not agree to be a pair for life. At that time, Duguxiu did not know that there would be a day when he would regret his decision. The matter of detaining Yun Sheng eventually became a prairie fire. At that time, Yi Baiming, who was already the regent of Great Zhou, sent his army north. He used the excuse of swearing to marry Yun Sheng to force later Qin to abdicate. When the Immortal Abode's Fairy Army and Zhou State's allied army charged into later Qin, Du Guxiu knew that he was a trapped beast. However, he was still unwilling. He gave up on later Qin and went to the Eight Wastelands. He swore to the heavens that he would take back everything that belonged to him. In the end he did it. He fused with Black Qilin King Yeshio's flesh, blood, heart and Black Qilin relic. He became the king who stood at the peak. However, why did he not feel any joy after becoming an omnipotent expert? There was only endless loneliness and pain. Many nights he dreamed of He Linlin and He Yao. He dreamed of his mother, who was crying in the cold palace, and the people of the boundless world, who had been contaminated by the blood fog and were groaning in pain. Yun Sheng told him that it was because there was still a portion of human blood in his body. He was unwilling to believe it. This was because, from the moment he killed his biological father, He Yao, Du Guxiu had told him that the portion of human blood in his body had already died. This conflict between the human race and the beast race made Du Guxiu rather be devoured by Black Qilin King Yeshio. He would rather sleep in Yeshio's body forever. That way he would not have to feel conflicted and would not have to face Yun Sheng's sad eyes. However, the moment Yeshio was about to kill Yun Sheng, Du Guxiu could not ignore it. He hesitated and stopped Yeshio from making a desperate attack. Yeshio was ultimately defeated. He was also defeated. Du Guxiu and Yeshio were also two disappointed people. They stood guard outside Celestial Fox's tomb together. To Yeshio he was protecting his relationship with Hu Yen. As for Du Guxiu, he only hoped that he would be able to see that person again one day in the future. Before Yun Sheng arrived, he met the Elf King, Shen Feng. That man who was like the wind, was all alone in his life. Du Guxiu knew that he was the same as him. Once someone entered his heart, there would be no room for anyone else. The two men who had once fought to the death, looked at each other without any hatred in their eyes. Many years later, when he saw Yun Sheng and the man beside Celestial Fox's tomb again, he felt that there really was a pair in this world. Only then did Du Guxiu realize that it was not impossible. It was just that he could not do it. Sometimes, missing a moment was equivalent to missing a lifetime. If he could do it all over again, he just wanted to ask Yun Sheng to be with him for the rest of his life. What do you think? Chapter 1431. For thousands of years, the continent had been debating whether magicians or warriors were stronger. This debate was just like the battle between the human race and the beast race on the boundless continent. It was never ending. In the westernmost part of the boundless continent, there was a huge desert. The desert was extremely hot all year round, and not a single blade of grass grew there. Legend had it that some people got lost in the desert and had no choice but to hunt their companions and drink the blood of living humans to walk out. Therefore, this desert was also known as the Bloodthirsty Desert. In the periphery of the desert there were a few human villages. Relying on the sporadic water source and local farming, the humans in the villages had been living extremely hard lives. This year's summer was the driest season in the entire desert. Even the deepest well in the village could not produce a single drop of water. Beside the well, a woman with withered yellow hair was bending over, trying to get some water from the well. Mother, Nyonyo is thirsty. Beside the woman, a 5 to 6-year-old girl was extremely thirsty. She hugged the woman's leg and cried, "Nyonyo, don't cry. There's no more water in the well." The woman's throat was already dry, but what could she do? The village had exhausted all methods, but she could not find a single drop of water. If this continued, not to mention the children and the elderly, even the adults would not be able to endure it. In the neighbor's house, there were already people who could not bear it any longer. They killed their livestock and relied on the livestock's blood to quench their thirst. The woman's eyes were filled with sorrow. "Little girl, don't cry. There's clear water here." A voice that was as sweet as spring water sounded out like the sound of nature. A hand that was so fair that almost no pores could be seen stretched out towards him. The woman looked over. Under the glaring sunlight she saw two young girls. One of them was dressed in white, while the other was dressed in pink. The one who spoke was the young girl dressed in white with a dust-proof veil. She was holding a water bag in her hand. Due to the veil, the woman and Nyonyo could not see the young girl's appearance clearly. However, the young girl had a pair of limpid eyes that were unforgettable. After seeing the water, Nyonyo took it without hesitation. She had just taken a sip when she carefully stopped. "Big sister, can I give the water to other people to drink?" Nyonyo licked the water droplets on her lips and resisted the urge to drink another mouthful. "Of course you can. The water I gave you is yours." The white-clothed girl saw Nyonyo's appearance and felt both heartache and fondness. What a sensible child. "Thank you, pretty big sister," little Nyo sweetly shouted. "The little girl's mouth is quite sweet. You haven't even seen what we look like. How do you know we're beautiful?" The girl in pink raised her beautiful eyes. There was a hint of amusement in her eyes. "My mother said that kind-hearted people are good-looking," Nyo said as she handed the water bag to her mother. The woman shook her head, indicating that she wasn't thirsty. "Madam, the wells in town have all dried up. Haven't you found a new water source?" The white-clothed girl frowned when she saw that the woman's lips were cracked, but she was still resisting the urge to drink water. "It's not that we don't want to, it's just that it's not easy to find outside. Recently there happened to be..." The woman looked at the two girls' attire. Although they were dressed as humans, their exquisite clothes and fair skin made it obvious that they weren't ordinary people. On the boundless continent, the only ones who could live such a luxurious life were the nobles of the human race or the beasts. "What happened to be? People are dying of thirst. Why aren't you looking for water? How stupid." The girl in pink curled her lips, looking down on these cowardly humans from the bottom of her heart. If not for her sister's insistence on finding a medicinal herb in the great blood-drinking desert, she wouldn't have bothered to interact with these humans. The woman opened her mouth, unsure if she should continue. At this moment, the sound of drums and gongs came from the village entrance. "Oh no, the beasts are here again. Everyone run." Upon hearing that the beasts were here, the woman was so frightened that her face turned pale. She didn't dare to say anything more to the two girls. She pulled her daughter and fled towards the village entrance. All of a sudden the village was in chaos. Every household was dragging the elderly and the young into the depths of the desert. Thud thud thud, flap flap, there were sounds of beast hooves and eagles chirping. In the northern side of the desert, there was a cloud of dust. Dozens of ferocious beasts appeared in front of them. They were all ferocious beasts, ranging from snow-white treading snow lions to ferocious black cloud leopards and red cloud eagles. Any one of these ferocious beasts could kill a strong warrior in an instant. Usually it was rare to see one of these ferocious beasts, but today dozens of them appeared all at once. At this moment, these ferocious beasts were very obedient. This was because the beasts sitting on them were youths from the beast clan who were 100 times more ferocious than the ferocious beasts. These youths weren't very old. They were only 15 or 16 years old. However, from their nimble movements and sparkling eyes, it wasn't hard to tell that they were all experts with unique skills. Looking at the leader of the group, the muscles all over his body bulged as if they would burst out of his clothes at any time. This person's cultivation was definitely not below the martial ancestor level. Looking at the other youths beside him, most of them had the same level of cultivation. When they reached the entrance of the village, Yushang followed them all the way. Suddenly, she heard the sound of horse hooves behind her. Caught off guard, she fell to the ground. Where did this blind fool come from? Yushang was about to curse, but when she saw who it was, her voice stopped abruptly. Under the sunlight, a young man rode on horseback. The young man's face was extremely handsome, like a god who had fallen into the mortal world. He was full of arrogance, as if he didn't care about anything in the world. With just a glance, Yushang felt as if her heart was in her throat. "You are a beast?" Yi Xiu wanted to kill this girl who had suddenly barged in, but when he looked at her, he realized that she had the aura of a beast. "Big brother, my name is Yushang. I am a celestial fox." Yushang hurriedly stood up and smiled sweetly. She even took the initiative to remove the veil on her face. Yushang had always been very confident in her appearance. Even in the celestial fox tribe, she was one of the top beauties. She thought that the man would be moved by her appearance, but to her surprise, Yi Xiu did not even look at her face. He turned his horse around and chased in another direction. "Sai, why did you leave? I still don't know your name." Yushang looked disappointed. A top-notch 8 desolation horse. This young man had met this group of beast nobles along the way. He had kept a low profile along the way, and even the horse he rode was inconspicuous. But if a true expert were to take a look, they would definitely realize that the horse the young man was riding was no ordinary horse. It was an 8 wilderness Chilan horse that could only be bred by the Black Chilan tribe. The 8 wilderness Chilan horse was very fast. In less than half an hour, Yi Xiu saw a large group of fleeing human villagers ahead. "Mother, Nyonyo can't run anymore." The mother and daughter who were running at the back were the pair that the girl in white had met by the well. The woman could only carry her child on her back, but when she heard the sound of hooves behind her, she turned around and saw Yi Xiu. She was so frightened that her legs gave way and she fell to the ground. Nyonyo was so frightened that she started crying. The woman knew that she could not escape today, so she hugged Nyonyo and trembled. Useless humans. Yi Xiu looked at these ant-like humans with disdain. If not for the bet, he would even think that killing these people would dirty his hands. Stop. Countless icicles fell from the sky. It was impossible to guard against, and they hit Yi Xiu's feet. Countless holes were formed in the sand. The icicles exploded, and the sharp ice shards pierced the 8 wilderness Qilin horses' body. The Qilin horse neighed and a hurricane swept up from the ground. The hurricane swept up the mother and daughter who had fallen to the ground, and moved them dozens of feet away. A girl in white appeared in front of Yi Xiu in an instant. Even though they were dozens of feet apart, the anger in the girl's eyes was very clear. A mage. Yi Xiu stopped his horse with a look of surprise. To be able to use both water and wind magic at the same time, there was such a talent in the human race? After taking a closer look, Yi Xiu realized that she was a beast just like him. Celestial Fox? Yi Xiu had heard of the Celestial Fox tribe. It was rumored that the people of the Celestial Fox tribe were proficient in all kinds of magic and sorcery. He had fought with some Celestial Fox mages before, but none of them had such outstanding control of magic like the girl in front of him. I didn't expect the brave and warlike Black Qilin tribe to engage in such shady business. The girl in white looked at the pitiful mother and daughter and felt sad. These humans were not even comparable to magical beasts. Damn the nobles of the beast race. They were clearly disregarding human lives. How dare you insult the Black Qilin tribe? You're courting death. Yi Xiu stomped his foot, and with the force of the horse's back, he struck out with his palm. The girl in white didn't show any weakness. A silver light flashed on her magic scepter. It was like heavenly lightning clashing with earthly fire. With loud bangs, the two of them had already exchanged 2 moves in midair. When the two's combat energy and magic power collided, they were actually evenly matched. A trace of surprise flashed in each other's eyes. This person's strength was actually so strong? In addition to being surprised, they were also curious. Who exactly was the other party? Stop fighting. Yu Shang saw the two of them in midair and hurriedly ran over. Brother, we are nobles of the Celestial Fox tribe. My sister is rash and has offended you. Please don't take offense. Yu Shang, what nonsense are you talking about? The girl in white glared at Yu Shang. Her angry look fell into Yi Xiu's eyes, and his heart suddenly swayed. Since they are all from the beast race, I will let them off today. Yi Xiu glanced at the girl in white. Sister-in-law, come with me. The white-clothed girl no longer paid any attention to Yi Xiu. She led the group of fleeing villagers towards the desert. What's your name? Yi Xiu suddenly asked. I'm Yu Shang. Hu Yu Shang was overjoyed. I'm asking about her, your sister. Yi Xiu looked at the girl in white who was already far away. She's my sister, Hu Yin, Hu Yu Shang said jealously. Celestial Fox Tribe. Hu Yin. Chapter 1433. Ever since their encounter in the blood-drinking desert, Yi Xiu had never encountered the fox smoke of the Celestial Fox Tribe in the following 5 years. He gradually forgot about her. However, at certain times, he would think of that different Celestial Fox woman. Yi Xiu did not expect that they would meet again at the Bahuang clan competition. The Bahuang clan competition was a competition between the beast clans held under the call of the beast clans nobles on the continent. Other than training the young beast clans under the age of 30, it was also held to unite the beast clans and form the strongest beast clans alliance. The reason for it was that the beast clans discovered that in recent years the human race who had been oppressed and enslaved had gradually united. Among the human race, there were also human experts who could contend against the beast clans. After realizing this, the Bahuang clan competition was born. The leaders of the beast clans all agreed that at the end of the competition, the 8 strongest beast clans would be chosen and become the first beast clans alliance on the continent, the Bakra Orcs. Due to the noble status of the Bakra Orcs, there were hundreds and thousands of beast clans on the continent. No matter how big or small they all wanted to obtain the title of Bakra Orcs. Therefore this time they all sent out the best of the younger generation in their tribes. As the young leader and the #1 young genius of the Black Qilin tribe, Yi Xiu naturally had to participate. At the beginning of Yi Xiu's participation, he was still in high spirits. However, after defeating 99 opponents in a row, he lost interest. These so-called geniuses of the other beast clans were all like soft-footed shrimps. They could not withstand a single blow. Just as Yi Xiu thought that he could enter the core competition in one fell swoop and obtain the final victory, an unexpected person appeared. On the arena, hundreds and thousands of gazes landed on that elegant and outstanding figure. A purple lightning flashed down from the clear sky and transformed into a five-clawed purple flood dragon. In an instant, one of the challengers was charred black and fainted. The surroundings were filled with laughter. Yishio focused his gaze and looked at the graceful figure on the arena. It was a young girl of 18 or 19 years old. Her white clothes were fluttering without a trace of dust. Her veil fluttered gently in the wind. Although it was just a glimpse, Yishio recognized her at first glance. It was Hu Yen from the Celestial Fox tribe. It had been 5 years since they last met. She had grown taller, but her temper was still the same. "Didn't you say you wanted to see what I looked like? With such mediocre skills, it'll be impossible even after 100 years." The woman raised her head slightly. Under the veil was a small section of her chin that was whiter than ivory. The reason for this competition was that an orc aristocrat wanted to take liberties with a woman from the Celestial Fox tribe. The Celestial Fox tribe had always produced passionate and enchanting beauty since ancient times, but this woman from the Celestial Fox tribe was very aloof. Previously, there were a few lecherous orc nobles who wanted to take a look at her beauty, but they were all taught a lesson by her. Every time it was a clean and neat move. After a few days, this woman from the Celestial Fox tribe had already won 99 matches in a row. With a sudden leap, Yishio rushed out of the crowd and landed on the arena. His appearance caused an uproar in the surroundings. Both of them had won 99 matches, and both of them were outstanding youths of the younger generation. When this man and woman collided, it was likely that there would be a good show to watch. "Why are you so angry just because I wanted to see your face? Could it be that you're a super ugly freak who's uglier than a sow, so you're afraid of being seen by others?" Yishio grinned. His youthful face had a teasing expression. "You're the super ugly freak." Hu Yen was so angry that she stomped her foot. She narrowed her eyes and waved the magic scepter in her hand. Several wind blades attacked Yishio. "Whether I'm ugly or not, everyone has to say it. Today I must remove your veil. If you're ugly, then this young patriarch's guess is right. But if you're not ugly, then this young patriarch will reluctantly marry you." Amidst bursts of laughter, Yishio waved his palm and a majestic combat energy collided with the wind blades. Suddenly, the wind blades disappeared without a trace. B** go to hell. Hu Yan's pretty face turned pale as she shot out. In the arena, the two of them were as fast as lightning. They exchanged blows again and again, brushing past each other. Boom. It was another fierce confrontation. Yishio's combat aura surged out in an overwhelming manner. Hu Yan's magic wave was earth-shattering, and the entire arena was blown to smithereens. Although the arena was destroyed, the battle between the two of them was not over. In the sky, the two figures in black and white were like a battle between light and darkness. They collided crazily, and even the heavens and earth were about to be overshadowed. Whoosh whoosh. Almost at the same time, a sharp combat energy whizzed past Hu Yan's ear and her veil was cut in two. A wind blade brushed past Yishio's cheek, leaving a bloody mark on his face. "You." Yishio held his breath. He was wrong. Her eyebrows were like distant mountains, her eyes were as clear as spring water, and her skin was as white as jade. Due to the fierce battle just now, Hu Yan's face was faintly pink, which made her look even more charming. She was a peerless beauty who would enter one's heart at a glance. The ground was silent for a while, but then there was a burst of cheers. "The veil is gone. Marry her." Hearing these words, Hu Yan was angry and anxious. Her body staggered in midair and she could not care less anymore. She turned and left. Before the outcome of this battle could be determined, it was forced to come to an end. After returning to the ground, Yishio's cheek was bleeding. "Young patriarch, that celestial fox is too presumptuous. I will go and teach her a lesson tonight." Seeing that his master was injured, Shadow could not help but hate Hu Yan as well. "Yes, we must find her." "Shadow, I order you to find out her address now," Yishio said hurriedly as if he had just woken up from a dream. "Find out her address?" Shadow was puzzled. "Of course I will personally teach her a lesson." When Yishio thought of that pair of eyes that were cooler than any stars and the blush on the woman's face, a special feeling that he had never felt before silently grew in his heart. Many years later, there would be rumors on the mainland that Yishio and Hu Yan's relationship was not an ordinary one, but more of a mutual appreciation. When someone asked Yishio about it, he could not explain it clearly. Perhaps, after the Bakra orcs were established in the future, the mutual appreciation between the two of them had quietly changed. Or perhaps, his heart had already fallen for the girl in white from the first time he saw her. Chapter 1434. After the Bahuang tribe competition, the strongest 8 beast tribes emerged. They were known as the Bakra orcs in history. Among them, Yi Xiu of the Black Qilin tribe and Hu Yen of the Celestial Fox tribe were undoubtedly the best. Because of their outstanding performance in the Bahuang tribe competition, the two of them were chosen as the new tribe leaders by their respective tribes. As the tribe leader, even though Hu Yen was unwilling, she and Yi Xiu had to meet from time to time. Hu Yen was very displeased with this, but it was useless. Compared to Hu Yan's anger, Yi Xiu's attitude was the opposite. He used all sorts of excuses to get close to Hu Yen. As long as Hu Yen was around, he would appear. As for the wild bees and butterflies who had feelings for Hu Yen, they were all stopped by Yi Xiu. As time passed, everyone in the Bahuang tribe knew that Hu Yen was Yi Xiu's woman. Yi Xiu, come out. Finally, Hu Yen could not hold it in any longer. She rushed to Yi Xiu's tent and instantly set it ablaze with a fireball. Hu Yen, it's the middle of the night. Why are you so angry? Yi Xiu walked out of the tent unhurriedly. He was wearing a golden robe and his hair was casually draped to the side. His body exuded a wild and unruly aura. You know best what you've done. From today onwards, you're not allowed to tell others that I'm your woman. Hu Yen glared at Yi Xiu hatefully. In the next few days, Hu Yen did not see Yi Xiu. She heaved a sigh of relief, but at the same time she felt an inexplicable sense of loss. Sister, did you agree to Yi Xiu's confession? Just as Hu Yen was puzzled by her strange emotions, Hu Yushang came looking for Hu Yen angrily. What nonsense are you talking about? How could I fall in love with that murderous and arrogant fellow? Hu Yen snorted. But everyone outside says that you and Yi Xiu are engaged. Hu Yushang looked at Hu Yen unhappily. She was the one who met Yi Xiu first. Why would he take a fancy to her sister? What? That damned Yi Xiu. Hu Yen was furious, but when she found Yi Xiu, she realized that he was loitering in her tent. Why are you here? Hu Yen widened her eyes in disbelief as she watched Yi Xiu's maidservant move his things into the tent one by one. My tent was burned down by you and I have nowhere to sleep. Naturally, I have to move to your tent. Yi Xiu had an innocent look on his face. Yi Xiu, you're too shameless. Tell others that you and I. Hu Yen had never seen such a shameless person. What's wrong with you and me? You're talking about the marriage contract? This matter was personally agreed to by the old patriarch of Celestial Fox. Yi Xiu narrowed his eyes, admiring the change in Hu Yan's expression with a smug look on his face. It turned out that the reason why he hadn't done anything in the past few days wasn't because he had restrained himself, but because he had gone to propose. Yi Xiu, get out of here. Hu Yan's face was pale. What if I don't scram? Yi Xiu continued to be a rascal. If you don't scram, I'll beat you until you scram. Hu Yen gritted her teeth. Let's fight then. If I win, you'll marry me. If I lose, I'll reluctantly marry you. Yi Xiu's words almost made Hu Yen vomit blood. However, there was still no conclusion as to who won and who lost in this competition. The Bakra orcs only knew that ever since then Yi Xiu stayed in Hu Yan's tent. Gradually, the two of them became lovers. Even though they had become each other's true love, Yi Xiu and Hu Yen had always had conflicts on certain points of view, especially on the handling of the relationship between the human race and the beast race. Patriarch, the war with the human race can't be dragged on any longer. A few powerful humans have joined forces to seize a piece of territory that belongs to our Black Qilin tribe, Shadow said beside Yi Xiu. Damn the human race. When Hu Yen and I return, I'll definitely wipe out the human race in one fell swoop. Yi Xiu and Hu Yen were going to Grand Emperor City. Hu Yen said that she had found an ancient tomb in Grand Emperor City. It was Hu Yen again. When Shadow heard Hu Yan's name, a trace of jealousy flashed across his eyes. Ever since he got together with Hu Yen, the patriarch only had Hu Yen in his heart. Shadow could only sow discord between the patriarch in the dark. He knew that Hu Yen hated killing. She had always hoped that the beast race and the human race could live in harmony. Shadow kept intensifying the patriarch's hatred for the human race. After returning from Grand Emperor City, Yi Xiu realized that there was an additional trace of sadness in Hu Yan's eyes that could not be resolved. In order to let Hu Yen relax, they went to Crimson Moon River hand in hand. Crimson Moon River was located at the border between the human and beast races' territories. The river water was so clear that one could see the bottom. Hu Yen had grown up beside Crimson Moon River since she was young. Every time she was unhappy, she would come to Crimson Moon River. Yen, what's wrong with you these few days? Or did something happen in Grand Emperor Tomb? Yi Xiu could not remember clearly. He only remembered that they entered Grand Emperor Tomb, but he could not remember what happened inside. It's nothing. Yishio, if one day I do something that you can't forgive, will you hate me? Hu Yan looked at Yishio. Of course I will. As long as it's yen or even if it's wrong, I will forgive you, Yishio said with a smile, his eyes filled with tenderness. Then it's a promise. I have a pair of marriage locks here. I asked for them from a human temple. Hu Yan took out a pair of locks. The locks were engraved with Hu Yan's and Yishio's names. You still believe in these things? How good can something from the human race be? Yishio said disdainfully. Since you don't like it, then forget it. Hu Yan was angry for some reason. She threw the pair of locks out in annoyance. The locks turned into an arc and fell into Crimson Moon River. Yan, what are you doing? Yishio was also a little annoyed. Hu Yan did not say anything else. With a teleport, she disappeared. Looking at the rippling Crimson Moon River, Yishio frowned. He had a very uncomfortable feeling in his heart. A few days later, Hu Yan asked to meet Yishio. Yishio, did you kill little Nyo and the people in the village? Hu Yan's face was a little pale. It's just some humans. During this period of time, we are about to war with the human race. Why would we care about the human race's life and death? Yishio frowned. He vaguely remembered that Shadow said that he was going to capture some human spies. As for whether he killed anyone, he did not know. Yishio, don't deny it anymore. Someone saw it with their own eyes. Hu Yan's eyes were a little red. Everything that happened in the tomb seemed to have come true. Hu Yan, what nonsense are you talking about? What does your relationship with me have to do with the human race? Moreover, those people. Yishio felt that something was wrong, but Hu Yan did not give him any more room to speak. Hu Yan left without hesitation, leaving Yishio alone. From then on until the moment of Yishio's death, he did not see Hu Yan again. He only heard that Hu Yan had betrayed the Bakra orcs and stood on the side of the human race. His heart felt like it was being torn apart until the moment he fell to the ground. Shadow, dig out my heart. Yishio will not die so easily. Hu Yan, one day I will make you pay the price. However, many years later, when Yishio learned the truth, he realized that he had been the one in the wrong all along. Chapter 1435. Light and Darkness 5. After the battle between the nine-tailed celestial fox Yun Sheng and the black Qilin king Yishio, Yishio disappeared. No one knew where Yishio went or whether he was dead or alive. After the humans and beasts signed a treaty of peace, the Duqian Blood Realm became a place for both humans and beasts to commemorate. The Duqian Blood Realm, which used to be barren, was gradually planted with vegetation. A small village was also gradually formed in the Blood Realm. Every year there would be many young martial practitioners, as well as some citizens of the continent that would come to Bloody Sky Metropolis Jia to tour. However, the most popular places were the 8 tombs of the beast. This was especially so for the Celestial Fox Tomb and the Qilin King Tomb. These 2 tombs were the cenotaphs of the Celestial Fox people's chief Hu Yan and the Black Qilin tribe's chief Yishio. Therefore there was an endless stream of people visiting them. Every person who visited the tombs of the Celestial Fox Tomb and the Qilin King Tomb would go to the front of the Celestial Fox Tomb and ask for a pair of marriage-fated locks. Legend had it that the marriage-fated locks sold in front of the Celestial Fox Tomb were spiritual. As long as a pair of marriage-fated locks were locked together and thrown into the Crimson Moon River, the lovers would be together forever. No one knew if this legend was true or not, but every year, there would be an endless stream of people coming to buy marriage-fated locks and throw them into the Crimson Moon River. Most of these people who lost their marriage-fated locks were young men and women. On this day, another pair of young lovers walked by. Buy a pair of marriage-fated locks. The lock seller in front of the Celestial Fox Tomb took out a pair of marriage-fated locks. He didn't say anything. I heard that he's mute. How pitiful. Everyone else is in pairs but he's alone. I wonder if he has a family. The pair of young lovers glanced at him, whispered among themselves and walked away. It was an old man whose age was unclear. The reason why he was called an old man was because of his tattered clothes and long hair. His eyes were hidden under his hair and he looked very old. The old man never spoke. When he saw someone come to buy locks, he would hand over a pair. As for the rest, he didn't say much. Grandpa, is this the tomb of Celestial Fox? A young and adorable voice entered the old man's ears. The old man did not speak. There was no fluctuation in his eyes, as if he was deaf. Who would have thought that her hand would suddenly reach out and tug at the old man's beard? The old man finally reacted. For the first time in many years, there was a ripple in his emotionless eyes. He looked at the owner of the pair of hands. It was a little girl about 3 or 4 years old. She was pink and tender, with big eyes and a small oval face. The little fellow seemed to be very angry at this moment. He was looking at the old man angrily. She didn't know where this little fellow came from. Her parents were too careless. How could they allow a baby to run around? Looking at the little fellow like this, the old man couldn't get angry for a while. He snorted and ignored the little fellow. Grandpa, are you angry? I didn't mean to. I was separated from mother and father. They said that if I got lost, I should wait for them outside the tomb of Celestial Fox. The little girl was very good at reading people's expressions. She pitifully circled to the front of the old man and softly said. The old man looked at the little fellow and his heart softened. This is the tomb of Celestial Fox. After a long silence, the old man's voice was a little hoarse. That's great, then I'll wait here for mother and father. Grandpa, do you want me to chat with you? The little girl seemed to like this strange old man. Chat with him? He should be the one chatting with her, this opinionated little fellow. The old man was annoyed in his heart. He humphed non-committally. Forget it, let her be. In any case, he won't answer. Grandpa, my name is Little You. What's your name? Grandpa, do you have a family? Although the old man didn't answer a word, the little girl was very interested and talked about a lot of things about her and her family. The old man already knew that there were 5 people in her family, including her, her parents, and a bunch of twin brothers who were about to be born. Hour passed, but the little girl's mouth was still chattering non-stop. The old man didn't notice that from the beginning, he completely ignored the little girl. Later, he gradually nodded and shook his head. Grandpa, you are alone outside the tomb of Celestial Fox. You don't even know GMO? The little girl's little mouth didn't stop. I'm looking for something. His heart moved slightly, the old man's lips moved. This was the second time he spoke today and also the second time he spoke in several years. Looking for something? What are you looking for? Little You will help you find it? Seeing the old man finally opened his mouth to chat, the little girl's big eyes sparkled. That thing has been lost for many years. It's been so long that I don't remember where it is. The old man shook his head. That won't happen. Little You will tell you a little secret. After looking around and confirming that there was no one else around, the little girl said mysteriously in the old man's ear. Grandpa, I have a very magical power. As long as you tell me what that thing looks like, I can find it. The little girl's appearance made the old man feel a little amused. When this thought came to his mind, the old man was a little shocked. Laughing. This thing, how many years has it been since he had this kind of thing? Tell me, Grandpa. I will definitely help you find it. The little girl patted her chest. Looking at the little girl's confident eyes, the old man was momentarily dazed. There was once such a woman who also exuded such confidence. But unknowingly he lost that person. That is, a pair of locks. 2 names are engraved on it. Yishio. Huyen. When he said the last name, the old man's voice was indescribably sorrowful. Oh, Grandpa, wait for me here. Wait for me. The little girl didn't know if she heard the old man's words clearly. The little girl ran away like the wind. The old man didn't say anything. He seemed to have sunk into his deepest memories. Just as the old man thought that the little girl wouldn't return, she ran back after a while. However, unlike before, her hair and clothes were wet. From the looks of it, she seemed to have fallen into the river. There were small wounds on her chubby hands and feet. Grandpa, take a look. Is this it? The little girl looked very happy. She stuffed the thing in her hand into the old man's hand. What are you doing? The old man looked at the little girl's appearance and then looked at the thing in his hand. When he saw the pair of locks in his hand, the old man's eyes instantly blurred. It was a pair of locks. A pair of locks that had been left behind thousands of years ago. Yishio, this pair of locks is like the 2 of us. Huyen and Yishio will be together forever. We will never leave each other. The woman's clear voice sounded like it was by his ear. The locks were covered in rust and moss, but the 2 words Yishio and Huyen on the locks were still vaguely visible. Thank you. Thank you. The old man couldn't help but cry bitterly. He thought that he would never have a chance to find this pair of locks again. Grandpa, this pair of locks fell into the Crimson Moon River. Don't be sad. Since the locks have been found, you should go home and reunite with your family. The little girl didn't expect the old man to be so sad. She hurriedly patted the old man's shoulder with her small hand. Child, I, Yishio, will remember your kindness for the rest of my life. The old man looked at the little girl in front of him. His voice was full of sincerity. Grandpa, you're welcome. The little girl giggled. Ling Yu, not far away, a young man and woman were walking over. The little girl turned her head to look, and a bright smile immediately appeared on her small face. Mother, father, Little You is here. It was a pair of parents who were as dazzling as the sun and moon. The woman was dressed in white and had picturesque features. The man beside her was tall and handsome. At this moment he was nervously supporting his big-bellied wife and kept telling her to slow down. When he saw the young man and woman, the old man's expression suddenly changed. It's them? This little girl was actually their daughter. The old man thought of the little girl's delicate face and her eyes that were exactly the same as her mother's. He sighed in his heart. Yi Lingyue, how many times have I told you not to run around? When Yun Sheng, who was close to giving birth, saw her daughter, she heaved a sigh of relief. Then she pulled a long face and pulled little Lingyue back to give her a harsh scolding. Father, mother is angry? Little Lingyue hurriedly hid behind her father, Yi Baiming. Little wild cat, don't be angry. Lingyue has just returned to the human world and is a little playful. Be careful of your body so that the baby won't be affected. Yi Baiming hugged his wife dotingly and kissed her on the lips. After they went to the 8 desolate god realm, they were busy for several months. It was rare for the family to come to the human world. Yun Sheng suggested that they go to the Blood Dutian realm to take a look. After all, this place had a special meaning to him and Yun Sheng. Night Fox, there's a child here. Yun Sheng's face was red. Little, you can't see anything. I can't see father eating mother's mouth, little Lingyue said mischievously. Yun Sheng was angry and amused at the same time. Lingyue, where did you go just now? How did you end up like this? Yi Baiming saw that his daughter was injured and was a little worried. I went to help an old grandpa look for something. That old grandpa is very pitiful. He's just... Little Lingyue pointed behind her. There was no one outside Celestial Fox's tomb. He was just there. How strange. Little Lingyue was a little depressed. It wasn't easy for her to become friends with the old man. She's probably talking about the lock cellar outside Celestial Fox's tomb. Forget it, it's getting late. Let's go back. With that, Yi Baiming carried his daughter in his arms and hugged Yun Sheng. Father, tell little you about the story of Celestial Fox and the Qilin? The little girl's voice echoed in the wind. The family of 3 followed the setting sun and walked along the Crimson Moon River. Outside Celestial Fox's tomb, the lonely lock cellar was still lonely. The Crimson Moon River flowed forever. The story of the Celestial Fox people Jianghu Yin and the ancient Qilin Wang Yeshio also continued to spread. Chapter 1436. If one were to ask which tribe had the most beautiful women among the Bakra orcs, all the beastmen would unanimously say that it was the Celestial Fox tribe. The women of the Celestial Fox tribe were famous for their beauty. Most of them were charming and graceful, with a beauty that could captivate one's soul. However, if one were to ask which tribe had the ugliest women among the beastmen, all the beastmen would unanimously say that it was the Behemoth tribe. Therefore, the women of the Celestial Fox tribe were often sought after, while the women of the Behemoth tribe were often looked down upon. The 10-year-old girl Rita was unfortunately a member of the Behemoth tribe. However, to Rita, she had never felt that she was ugly before the age of 10 because she had never stepped out of the Behemoth tribe. As for the people around her, including her mother, the chief of the Behemoth tribe, everyone would call her the most beautiful young chief in the history of the Behemoth tribe. Rita had never doubted this. She had never doubted the words of her mother and the others. This was because Rita was a very simple-minded person. She would never doubt others. With such a temper, it was only when she was betrayed by her first good friend that she realized that not everyone was as sincere as the Behemoths. Furthermore, from her point of view, everyone looked similar to the Behemoths. They were tall, had huge skeletons, didn't bathe all year round, had messy hair, and had a short pig nose that seemed to have been broken by someone. Therefore, in the first 10 years of Rita's life, she had always been carefree. She didn't understand beauty or ugliness, and at the same time she didn't know what worry was. However, all of this was mercilessly broken when Rita went to the beast god altar to receive her baptism. Every Bakra orcs with noble blood had to go to the beast god altar after the age of 10 to undergo 3 years of education. When Rita arrived at the beast god altar on the first day, she realized that she was different from the others. Even though she was only 10 years old, she was taller than some 13-year-old beastmen. Needless to say, with her bucket-like figure and her clothes made of beast skin, she was simply a synonym for boorish and ugly in the eyes of other beastmen girls. Look, who is that ugly freak? It's the young matriarch of the Beaming clan. I have already heard that the women of the Beaming clan are all ugly. Look at her nose, why does it look like a pig's nose? Smell it? She has a strange smell on her body. It stinks like cow dung. The words of the other girls made Rita realize for the first time that she was different from the others. She walked away with a blushing face until she found a small river. Rita cried as she wiped her face and body. She scrubbed herself over and over again until her skin turned red, but she still felt that there was a strange smell on her body. Water splashed and a brush appeared at Rita's feet. Rita was shocked. Only then did she notice that there were other people by the river. It was a youth of about 11 or 12 years of age, and he was leading a pure white unicorn on a leash. The moment Rita saw the young man, she only had a few words in her mind. What a beautiful person. Although Rita did not know the difference between beautiful and ugly in the first 10 years of her life, the moment she saw the young man, Rita instantly understood the meaning of the word beautiful. The young man had a head of light purple hair. He had a slender figure and long eyelashes that were like feathers. As he was scrubbing the unicorn, the clothes on his wrist were rolled up, revealing his fair skin. This was an overly beautiful young man. He was obviously impatient with Rita's cries and threw the brush that he used to clean the unicorn to her. Thank you. Rita's cries became softer. She picked up the brush and gently wiped her skin. The rough brush did not hurt at all when it touched her skin. As she scrubbed, Rita peeked at the young man who was washing the unicorn from the corner of her eyes. He was leading the unicorn to the river bank. Here's your brush. Rita quickly passed the brush over. The young man glanced at the brush with a cold gaze. Rita was so frightened that she quickly took back the brush. Purple, where did you run off to? A colorful swan bird flew across the sky and landed beside the young man on the unicorn, turning into a cute little boy. Washing the unicorn, let's go. The young man, Purple, ignored Rita. He would not take back something that had been used by others. Purple actually lent his things to an outsider. What a rare thing. I am Green from the 9-1 tribe and he is Purple from the D tribe. Nice to meet you. The little boy, Green, smiled at Rita. I am Rita from the Behemoth tribe. Rita looked at Purple shyly and realized that he had walked away without looking back. See you another day. Green quickly caught up with Purple. Rita looked at the brush in her hand. Although the bristles had fallen off, she could not bear to throw it away. After returning to the campsite, Rita was still in a daze. Is there anyone who is willing to sleep in the same room as young Chief Rita? The moment the priest of the beast god altar asked, the other beastmen girls retreated as if they had seen a poisonous snake. I am willing to stay with young Chief Rita. A sweet voice made Rita's spirits rise. My name is Hu Linglong. I will stay with you. The girl called Hu Linglong was from the Celestial Fox tribe. As she was the first girl to initiate a conversation with Rita, Rita quickly became friends with her. In the room, Hu Linglong curiously looked at Rita keeping an old brush. That brush was lent to me by Purple from the D tribe. Rita said embarrassedly. She roughly explained the situation of her meeting with Purple and Green earlier. Hearing that Purple and Green were actually talking to Rita, Hu Linglong was a little surprised. Her pair of charming and enchanting eyes had an additional tinge of jealousy. Purple and Green were the most outstanding beast men in the beast god altar. Hu Linglong had used all kinds of methods, but the two of them did not even bother to talk to her. She did not expect that the ugly Rita would actually talk to them. Hu Linglong decided to teach Rita a lesson and let her know that there were some people that she could not provoke. Hee, did you guys see the letter that Rita wrote to Purple? So funny. She actually likes Purple. Isn't that so? Linglong, you are too bad. You actually posted the letter. Who asked her to be so ugly? You guys think that I really want to be friends with her? I just want to use her ugliness to set off my beauty. Hu Linglong laughed. Hu Linglong, you are too much. Rita rushed out. Her eyes were red as she gave Hu Linglong a slap. Hu Linglong was stunned by the blow. Rita, you ugly monster. You actually dare to hit me. Hu Linglong also threw a tantrum and the two of them started fighting. What are you guys doing? Green and Purple walked in. When they saw Hu Linglong and Rita, they both frowned. Chapter 1437. Green, look, Rita is bullying me. Hu Linglong's face was covered in tears. Green shrugged his shoulders. He had never been interested in women fighting. Moreover, he also hated women like Hu Linglong who were pretentious. Rita looked like an idiot who was being bullied. It was good enough that Hu Linglong did not bully her. Seeing that Green ignored her, Hu Linglong looked at Z with tears in her eyes. Get lost, ugly. Z glared at Hu Linglong and moved her lips. When Hu Linglong heard the word ugly, she was stunned. Are you saying that I'm ugly? Rita is the real ugly freak. Hu Linglong had never been called an ugly freak to her face before. She's prettier than you. Z walked out with an indifferent face. I'm prettier than Hu Linglong? At that moment, Rita felt that her whole world was lit up. Many years later, Rita could still clearly remember Z's words at that time. She was prettier than Hu Linglong. Although Rita did not know why Z would lie through her teeth. Anyone with eyes would know that Hu Linglong was one of the top beauties in the Celestial Fox tribe. However, Rita did not expect to hear the same words many years later. However, the person who said it was not Z but another woman from the Celestial Fox tribe, Yun Sheng. That woman was one of the few women that Rita had seen who was prettier than Hu Linglong. Rita had learned her lesson from Hu Linglong, so she was naturally hostile to beautiful women. However, this Celestial Fox mixed-blood woman named Yun Sheng made her have a good impression. Especially when she was willing to help her break the inheritance pillar and obtain the behemoth's inheritance. Rita, can you tell me why you must obtain this insignificant inheritance? Yun Sheng looked at Rita. Because I want to be as beautiful as Hu Linglong. Only then will I be qualified to stand beside Z, Rita told Yun Sheng frankly. You're prettier than Hu Linglong. Yun Sheng shrugged. Rita was stunned by her words. No, you're lying to me. I'm ugly. Rita smiled bitterly. Apart from that one time, Z never spoke to Rita again. Rita hoped she could change her appearance and find the courage to talk to Z. Fine, I'll help you obtain that inheritance. However, you have to remember that beauty and ugliness change according to the human heart. One day you will understand what I mean. Yun Sheng helped Rita break the inheritance pillar and obtained a behemoth inheritance that could change one's appearance. The name of the inheritance was Mermaid's Tears. The Mermaid's Tears inheritance was a special kind of inheritance. Every time it was used, one would need to drink a drop of Mermaid's Tears before using the inheritance to transform into a beautiful mermaid. However, the Mermaid's Tears had its own taboo. It could not change a person's voice. At the same time, when using this inheritance, Rita would become like a mermaid. She could not use the behemoth's power. Once she used the behemoth's power, the Mermaid's Tears would lose its effect. Therefore, even though Rita obtained the Mermaid's Tears, her mother, Patriarch Rita, always objected to her using it. Just like that, Rita took the Mermaid's Tears inheritance to participate in the Bahuang clan competition. In the Bahuang clan competition she met Z again. Z was the same as before. When he saw Rita, he was cold as if he did not know her at all. This made Rita a little sad. She wanted to use the Mermaid's Tears even more to change her appearance and try to get close to Z. Unfortunately, Z and Green had a good relationship. Even in the Bahuang clan competition, the two of them were often inseparable. Rita could not find an opportunity. However, during the challenge competition, Z and Green had a rare quarrel because of Yun Sheng. Z seemed to be very unhappy. After the challenge competition, Z rode on a unicorn and left Sky Harmony City alone. Rita was worried about Z and followed behind him secretly. Z went all the way to the lakeside outside the city. He looked at the lake surface with worry in his eyes. When Rita saw this, she struggled in her heart. She took out a drop of the Mermaid's Tears and drank it. Z was very frustrated. He did not understand why Green was like a completely different person. Could it be that a woman was more important than their friendship of more than 10 years? Who is it? Hearing the commotion, Z became alert. A woman walked out from the lake. She was wearing a wet blue gauze dress. She had almond eyes and willowy eyebrows. Droplets of water kept falling from her smooth face. Her eyes were very clear and filled with fear. This was a woman who looked like a fairy. You are the mermaid who lives in the lake? Z looked at the lake surface and then looked at the woman who was as fresh as the lake water. She nodded, then pointed to her throat and shook her head. Are you a mute? Z's expression softened. He sympathized with the woman. Z did not like women who talked too much. Since this woman was a mute, his ears would be quieter. The woman blinked her watery eyes and wrote a sentence on the ground. You think I'm unhappy? Z did not expect that his emotions would be seen through by an unfamiliar mermaid. Although you are a mute, you are quite sharp. That's right, I quarreled with my best friend. Unknowingly, Z told her about the conflict between him and Green. He did not know why he would say such things to someone he had just met. Maybe it was because he knew that the two of them had just met by chance. Or maybe it was because he knew that she was a mute. Even if he told her, she would not tell anyone else. Say, that brat Green, isn't he a little too focused on his lover? That celestial fox mixed blood called Yun Sheng is obviously fickle. She will break Green's heart sooner or later. Z snorted. You are wrong. Maybe in your friend's heart, even if the final result is a kind of hurt, he will gladly endure it. Besides, even if he hurts Green, it is his own choice. What does it have to do with you? The woman's words were completely different from her weak appearance. He had hit the nail on the head and pointed out Z's problem. Z was stunned. He had never thought of this point before. Just like what the woman said, Green was willing to do it. Why should he meddle in other people's business? Z could not help but smile bitterly. He did not expect that he would have to say such a simple truth through someone else's mouth. After talking with the mermaid for a while, Z felt much better. Thank you. It's all thanks to you tonight. After that, Z rode away on his unicorn. He did not tell the mermaid his name, nor did he ask her name. Because in Z's opinion, the two of them just met by chance. They would not have the chance to meet again in the future. Chapter 1438. However, more than a month later, on the same moonlit night, Z came to the lakeside again as if she was possessed by gods and devils. Compared to before, Purple was in a worse mood. Thankfully, not long after Z came, the mysterious mermaid showed up again. You seem to be in a worse mood. Have you reconciled with your friend? The mermaid asked. We have reconciled. I am not worried about my friend in the future, but about someone else. Purple hesitated for a moment and said what was in his heart. I participated in a competition. That competition was very important and related to the glory of my tribe. My opponent won, but in the end she gave me the most important prize. Purple's voice was filled with unwillingness and confusion. The prize that Purple mentioned was the dark summoning demon hand that he obtained from the Bahuang Tower. Although it was Purple who handed over the dark summoning demon hand when they left the Bahuang Tower, it was Rita who was sent to the same floor as Purple. However, Rita gave the glory that she obtained to Purple with her own hands. Aren't you happy? Rita, who had transformed into a mermaid, felt sweet when she heard Purple talking about her. In the Bahuang Tower, she was willing to give the dark summoning demon hand to Purple. She knew that Purple was a very proud person. It was hard for him to accept failure. I'm not happy. I hate Rita. I'm not willing to accept her charity. Purple always knew that Rita had a crush on him, but he did not like Rita. From the first time he saw Rita, he did not like her. He also hated the way Rita looked at him with adoration. The branch in the mermaid's hand that she used to write broke. Her body trembled. Purple hated her. Even if she changed her appearance, Purple would never like her. An ugly person would always be an ugly person. She would never be with Purple. The reason why Purple was willing to talk to her was because she changed her appearance. As expected, Purple also hated ugly people. Violet said something else, but Rita could not hear any more. Oh right, what is your name? Purple suddenly asked before he left. He found that he was in a much better mood after talking to the mermaid twice. Rita lifted her head and looked at Z. She noticed a hint of gentleness in Z's eyes. That trace of gentleness was not for her, but for the mermaid. She felt slightly bitter in her heart. Tears. The mermaid wrote a word on the ground and jumped into the lake. Since that day, Z returned to the lake from time to cry. Slowly he got used to the existence of the mermaid. Z was also surprised by this change. After chatting with Green, Z realized that this special change was because he had fallen in love with the woman named Lei. Violet pondered for an entire night and decided that before he left Sky Harmony City, he would make his intentions clear to Lei. He wanted to bring Lei back to the D clan. Z thought that Lei would agree. This was because Violet had long heard from Lei that she was an orphan. Her parents had long since passed away, and she had always been living in this lake outside of Sky Harmony City. However, he didn't expect that Lei would refuse. Why? Z was very surprised. Could it be that Lei didn't like him? If she didn't like him, why was she able to be patient and listen to him talk for several long nights? Rita's eyes were filled with tears. She tried very hard to stop herself from crying. She still remembered that Z hated it when others cried loudly in front of him. If she cried, then all his efforts would be wasted. Being rejected for the first time, Z was in a bad mood. He was angry and rode his unicorn away. Z, I'm sorry. Rita finally cried out loud. She finally got Z's attention, but she wasn't happy at all. Z liked the mermaid who was considerate and as gentle as the moonlight. Rita decided that she would never see Z again, but she couldn't resist the desire in her heart. On the day when the D clan left Sky Harmony City, Z couldn't help but listen to the conversation at the lake. He looked at the calm surface of the lake and couldn't see the figure of Lei. Z could only leave dejectedly. Behind him, Rita and the behemoth tribe stood together. Seeing Z leave in disappointment, she felt a dull pain in her heart. Rita, don't be sad anymore. Z is like the moon in the water. Although it's beautiful, it's not suitable for you. Listen to me, after returning to the behemoth tribe, find a suitable behemoth warrior for you. Patriarch leap aside. Rita gradually accepted this reality. She decided to listen to her mother and give up on Z. She would never use the mermaid's tears again. However, what happened later was far beyond Rita's expectations. Qilin King Yeshio was reborn. Patriarch Rita, D-Clan and 9 Phoenix Clan's patriarch were all captured because they were unwilling to follow Yeshio's orders to attack the boundless land. On the way to save the few patriarchs, Green, Z and Rita met again. What surprised Rita the most was that Z, who had always been fastidious, had changed quite a bit in just a few months. He had lost a lot of weight and his eye sockets were sunken. He looked gloomy. When Rita saw this, her heart ached. She realized that she was still deeply in love with Z. Even if she saw his haggard appearance, she couldn't bear it. Z is the same as me. He fell in love with someone he shouldn't have. It's a mermaid whose whereabouts are unknown. After Z confessed to her, she rejected him. That brat looked indifferent on the surface, but he was hurt in his heart. After asking Green, Rita knew the truth. Rita didn't expect that Z would really fall in love with her. Rita didn't know what to do, but she was determined. No matter what, she couldn't let Z know about her identity. After cooperating with Yun Sheng from the Boundless Land, the situation in the 8 Desolates continent became even more tense. Yeshio even killed the 9 Phoenix Clan's patriarch. The death of the 9 Phoenix Clan's patriarch threw the 9 Phoenix Clan into chaos. Green went missing. There were rumors that Yeshio was going to hang the corpse of the 9 Phoenix Clan's patriarch outside Sky Harmony City for 3 days. As Z was worried about Green's safety, he decided to sneak into the Qilin Palace to retrieve the 9 Phoenix Clan's patriarch's corpse. Under Rita's insistence, the two of them entered the Qilin Palace together. However, they didn't expect that Yu Shang would appear just as they found the 9 Phoenix Clan's patriarch's corpse. It turned out that this was just a trap set up by Yu Shang to lure the few young patriarchs out. Chapter 1439. Hee hee, young clan leaders, it's been a while. I didn't expect to see you again. Yu Shang laughed and winked at Violet. However, Violet was completely indifferent to her, which made Yu Shang very uncomfortable. Old witch, hand over the old clan leader's body. Rita already knew Yu Shang's identity. They had fought a few times and had a bad impression of her. This woman was eccentric and had used many dirty tricks to harm others. Ugly demon woman, how dare you call me an old witch? Yu Shang hated it when people called her an old witch in front of her. Rita's words just happened to touch her scar. Rita, step back. Leave this woman to me. You go and get the old clan leader's body, Purple said in a deep voice. No, this old witch is not simple. She has many tricks up her sleeve. Be careful not to fall into her trap. Let's go together. Rita was worried about letting Purple face Yu Shang alone. Yu Shang saw the two of them pushing each other around as if there was no one else around. Especially Purple. He didn't know how to be gentle with women and kept protecting that ugly demon woman. This made Yu Shang even more unhappy. You two reckless juniors. You don't have to push it back and forth. Ugly, you like the man beside you, right? Yu Shang's eyes flashed. She could see Rita's feelings for Purple. Purple's expression changed slightly. Rita's heart raced. Hee hee, interesting. However, this man will never like you. But I can help you. I'll let you die in his hands. I'll let you have a taste of our celestial fox's illusory formation. As soon as Hu Linglong finished speaking, pink smoke filled the air. Celestial fox illusory formation? Rita knew something was wrong. She and Purple had fallen into the illusory formation that Hu Yushang had set up. It was too late to back out now. In the pink smoke, Purple saw a figure that he had been thinking about day and night. Lei, is that you? Purple was in a daze. He saw Lei slowly walking toward him. Purple, don't go over. Rita looked over. There was only a ball of pink smoke. There was no one at all. She threw a punch and the pink smoke suddenly dispersed. What are you doing? Z's eyes were bloodshot. He saw Rita and wanted to kill Lei. Hee hee, young patriarch, do you even need to say it? That woman has always been in love with you. She can't bear to see you fall in love with another woman. She wants to kill your sweetheart. Hu Yushang's voice echoed from all directions of the illusion array. No, it's not like that. Z, she's not Tyr at all. That's an illusion created by an illusion. Rita noticed that something was wrong with Yukari and wanted to bring her away from this place as soon as possible. Get lost. No one can separate my tears. Z shook off Rita's hand and retreated back into the illusory array. He had been searching for Lei for so long and had finally found her. How could he allow anyone to stop him? From his point of view, Rita was trying to break him in tears apart. Purple snorted coldly and countless bright electric arcs burst out from the magic scepter in his hand. Rita was anxious. She grabbed Z's magic scepter with both hands. Although her punches were fast and fierce, she did not use too much strength. She knew that Z was just temporarily blinded. Light magic was very powerful. Even with the behemoth's strong physique, the electric arc struck Rita's hand. There was a burnt smell and Purple's breath was slightly disturbed. He did not expect Rita to actually attack him without any regard for her own life. Back off. Z waved his long sword. Rays of light forced Rita to take a few steps back. The armor on her body was also broken. I won't back off unless you come with me. The ground under Rita's feet was broken. Her tall body did not move an inch. Are you not afraid of death? Z's voice was trembling. Rita's skin was already broken. Blood was spilling on the ground. It was a ghastly sight. He felt that the magic scepter in his hand was as heavy as 1,000 pounds. He could not lift it up no matter how hard he tried. Didn't he always hate Rita? Why? Young clan leader, what are you hesitating for? Kill her and you can be with your beloved forever. Hu Yushang did not expect the two of them to be in a stalemate in Celestial Fox's magic circle. A few puffs of pink smoke spurted out. 4 to 5 tears appeared at the same time. Each of the tears looked at Z with a pitiful expression. Z's eyes were in a daze. He felt that his head was hurting. He raised the magic scepter in his hand and put it down again. Z, wake up. They are not tears. I am tears. Rita did not want to see Z in such pain. She held back her tears and used the tears of the mermaid inheritance. A mermaid who was like a goddess of moonlight appeared in front of Z. Rita was as gentle as water. Rita had the same weak figure. Yet she had turned into tears. No, impossible. How can you be tears? Z staggered and took a few steps back. He did not expect that the person he had been looking for had been by his side all along. Do you know why I am called tears? Because mermaids do not have tears. If a mermaid tears, she will turn into bubbles and disappear into the sea. Tears are the same. There are no tears in this world. There is only Rita. Don't worry. I will never appear in front of you again. Rita felt as if her heart was being pierced by a knife. She released the energy of King Behemoth's Sarira from her body. The Celestial Fox's magic circle dissipated under the effect of the Sarira. Hu Yushang, hand over my grandfather's corpse. With a furious roar, Green descended from the sky. When Z saw Green, he joined forces with him. The two of them snatched the corpse of the 9 Phoenix clan leader. Unfortunately, when Z and Green escaped from the Qilin Palace, Rita was already gone. Green tears is actually Rita. Z felt that he had been cheated. You only realized now? Actually, I suspected it long ago. Green saw that his old friend was trapped by love and shook his head. Everyone in the Bakra Orcs knew about Rita's infatuation with Z. Only Z was kept in the dark. This brat always said that he was obsessed with Yun Sheng. Wasn't he the same? But she is a behemoth. Z's expression changed. So what if she is a behemoth? If you want a pretty one, you can go look for a celestial fox. Green pursed his lips. However, Green could understand Z's feelings. Z had always been arrogant. To let him be together with a behemoth girl who was taller than him and had terrifying strength, Z might not be able to accept it. Just as Rita had said, she never appeared in front of Z again. Z felt as if something was missing from her heart and it was empty. Chapter 1440. Not long after the incident at the Qilin Palace, the most serious conflict in history between the 8 Desolates continent and the Boundless continent broke out. The 8 great blood stars appeared. In the end, under the joint efforts of the celestial fox Yun Sheng and the holy infant Yi Baiming, the Boundless continent won the war against the 8 Desolates continent. The Black Qilin Wang Ye's cultivation became a mystery. Yun Sheng and Yi Baiming also retired to their fields. Between the 2 continents, the Duqian blood seal was broken. From then on, a rare period of peaceful coexistence in history began. Z also took over the position of the clan leader from the D clan and officially became the clan leader of the D clan. After becoming the clan leader, Z had been reorganizing the D clan for a long time. The old clan leader kept urging him to get married quickly. That kid Green hasn't gotten married yet. I'm not in a hurry. Z always laughed it off. Green didn't get married because of the medical Buddha Yun Sheng. What are you doing it for? The old clan leader was pushed to the edge and threw out a sentence. That's right. Green didn't get married because of Yun Sheng. What about him? Who was he doing it for? Z was speechless. Countless nights, he would stand under the night sky and recall those few nights in the Sky Harmony City. Again and again he asked himself whether he was thinking about Tears or Rita. The new 8 Desolates meeting was about to start. After the fall of the Black Qilan tribe, the 8 Desolates meeting was jointly organized by the 9 Phoenix tribe and the Chinese. Zi also received an invitation. He went to the Luochuan city of the Chinese. The moment he entered the Luochuan city, Zi still had some hope that he would meet Rita again. However, until the day before the meeting, he still didn't see Rita. This made Zi a little disappointed in his heart. One night, Zi was standing alone in the guest house when he heard a rustling sound. He saw 2 sneaky little figures sneaking in from the dog hole at the side. The 2 little boys looked exactly the same. They had big round eyes, thick eyebrows, and a red cinnabar mole on their forehead. They looked like a pair of twins. "Big brother, why do I feel scared?" Little boy 2 looked at the dark courtyard and was a little scared. "Don't be so long-winded. Do you still want to see the legendary unicorn?" The little boy was more courageous. He carefully looked around. It wasn't easy for him to beg his mother and father to bring them to Luochuan City. He heard that there was a very beautiful unicorn in this courtyard, so he sneaked out with his brother. The little boy suddenly felt that a big dark cloud floated over his head. Why did the surrounding light suddenly dim so much? He looked up. "Ah, there's a ghost. What a beautiful ghost." Little boy 1 and little boy 2 said in unison. Purple felt powerless. He picked up a little boy with one hand. "Which clan head's children are you? This is the D clan's guest house. You can't just barge in." The 2 boys looked very spirited. Although they were young, one of them had a very strong magical wave while the other had a lot of fighting aura. It was obvious that they were not from an ordinary family. "Big brother, what should we do?" Little boy 2 looked scared. "What else can we do?" The little boy curled his lips. "Big sister, help." His voice was 8 octaves high, and the entire D clan's mansion was buzzing. "Ling Ri Ling Guang, you 2 idiots have caused trouble again." At the other end of the wall, a little girl climbed in. The little girl was about 8 or 9 years old. She had a jade face and beautiful eyebrows and eyes. She looked somewhat similar to the 2 little boys. To be able to give birth to 3 good-looking children, it could be seen that the children's parents must be dragons and phoenixes among men. The little girl saw her 2 troublemaker brothers, one on the left and one on the right. She was not afraid. She rolled her big black eyes. "This good-looking uncle, are you the leader of the D clan? My name is Yi Ling Yu. These 2 are my younger brothers. They broke in because they were curious to see the unicorn. I hope you can let them go this time." The little girl didn't have any magical or fighting aura, but she was very young. Her speech and words were unusually calm. Zi immediately understood. It turned out that these 3 people were the children of that couple. No wonder the 3 children were so different. Yin Sheng and Yi Baiming. Zi had heard that the 2 of them had a daughter and a pair of twin sons. Since they were the children of an old friend, Zi naturally wouldn't make things difficult for them. He put down Yi Ling Ri and Yi Ling Guang. "The 8 Wastelands convention has already ended. Why haven't you left yet?" These 3 children, especially the older girl, gave Zi a good impression of them. "We are waiting to attend Aunt Rita's wedding." Yi Ling Yu glanced at Zi. She found that the legendary leader of the D clan was indeed very good-looking. However, compared to her father, he was still a little lacking. "Rita's wedding?" Zi's expression changed slightly when he heard the news. "Are you talking about the leader of the Beaming clan, Rita?" Zi's voice was a little strange. "Yes, Rita and my mother are good friends. In a few days she will marry a warrior of the Beaming clan." Little Ling Yu blinked her eyes. How could it be? Zi felt his heart sink. "Good-looking uncle, you know my Aunt Rita?" Little Ling Yu was curious. "We are old friends," Zi said with difficulty. "Then why didn't she inform you about her wedding?" Little Ling Yu was even more curious. "Because of some misunderstanding she didn't want to see me." Zi laughed bitterly in his heart. Rita didn't even want to attend the Ba Huang convention because she wanted to avoid him. "If she doesn't want to see you, you can go see her. Why are you adults so rigid?" Little Ling Yu pouted. Yes, if she didn't want to see him, he could go see her. "Thank you, little girl, for reminding me." Zi felt enlightened. He suddenly understood something that he couldn't understand. Rita's wedding made him understand that the person he liked in his heart was Rita. After Zi left, Yi Ling Ri and Yi Ling Guang said weakly, "Sister, why did you lie to good-looking uncle?" Aunt Rita couldn't attend the Ba Huang convention because of the plastic surgery that mother did for her. She didn't want to marry anyone either. They wanted to say it just now, but the consequences of offending their sister were very serious, so they didn't say anything. "Tsk, what do you know? Mother asked me to do it." Little Ling Yu laughed slyly. Mother said that this was called reverse psychology. Under the lush moonlight, Rita sat alone in the guest house. If it wasn't for Yun Sheng's persuasion, she wouldn't have come to the Ba Huang convention this time. She wanted to see that man, but she didn't dare to. But in the end she couldn't hold it in and came. Under Yun Sheng's suggestion, she had a type of plastic surgery. Yun Sheng said that she was actually not ugly. As long as her nose was slightly modified, it would be fine. Sigh. Rita sighed. Rita. The voice behind her made Rita's body tremble. She hesitated, not daring to turn around. Rita, I'm sorry. It took me so long to understand everything. Z walked forward. I like you, not tears. Can you be with me forever? Rita still didn't turn around. She couldn't believe her ears. You said that mermaids can't cry because once they cry they will disappear. I swear I won't regret making you cry again in this life. No matter how beautiful or ugly you are, I only love your heart. When Z said this, Rita couldn't hold it in anymore. She cried and threw herself into Z's arms. After so many years, Rita finally understood Yun Sheng's words. Beauty and ugliness were nothing more than a person's heart. If he loved you, so what? The mermaid stopped crying, not because she was afraid of dying, but because she found a man who would never make her cry. Chapter 1441. Recently, Supreme God 8 Baron's eldest daughter, little Lingyu, had been a little depressed. Because she realized that everyone had secrets, but she didn't. For example, there were many secrets between her father and mother that couldn't be told. Secret number 1, the mystery of the little brothers. Every night, her father would coax and persuade her to leave her room. Not long after, her mother's stomach had 2 little brothers. Regarding this secret, little Lingyu only understood it when she grew up. Secret number 2, the mystery of the mirror. Her mother had a mysterious mirror, but she didn't use it to dress herself up. She would only talk to the mirror occasionally. Her mother liked that mirror a lot, but her father didn't like it. He would always hide the mirror when her mother wasn't paying attention. Every time, her mother would be very angry. In order to figure out this secret, little Lingyu decided to steal the mirror when her parents weren't paying attention. As a result, the mirror fell into her hands. Little Lingyu turned the mirror over and over again and carefully looked at it. She didn't find anything special about it. It seemed to be no different from the small bronze mirror in her room. Little fella, are you looking for me? But at this moment, a pleasant voice suddenly came from the mirror. Little Lingyu was so shocked that she smashed the mirror on the ground. When the mirror fell, little Lingyu jumped in fright. She was afraid that she would break the mirror. No matter how she looked at it, her mother cherished this mirror very much. Even her father wouldn't touch it easily. A person appeared in the mirror. When she saw that person, little Lingyu's eyes widened. The person in the mirror was dressed in a snow-white robe. His robe was wide and there was only a white jade belt around his waist. His long hair was like snow and his entire face was almost transparent. His body seemed to be surrounded by a layer of faint light that enveloped him. Hey, why are you living in a mirror? Are you a ghost? Little Lingyu had seen ghosts before. Her adoptive father was the god of the underworld. In the underworld that her adoptive father controlled, she had seen many ghosts. Do you think I'm a ghost? The person in the mirror laughed. You don't look like one. You're prettier than the average ghost. No, you're prettier than humans, ghosts, and even the main gods of the god realm. If you really want to compare, you're the second most handsome man in the world. You're only slightly uglier than my father. Little Lingyu thought about it and said frankly. The ghosts of the underworld were not that good looking. They were all green-faced and fanged, or they were filled with resentment. The ghost in front of him was not only good-looking, but there was not a trace of resentment on him. He gave people the feeling that he was like the warm sunshine in winter. In fact, the man in the mirror really looked the same as his father. It was just that the two of them had different temperaments. If his father was the night, then the person in the mirror was the day. Yun Sheng, I've taught you very well. Looking at the beautiful girl in front of her, the person in the mirror smiled. This sentence was half praise and half derogatory. Because everyone knew that although the medical Buddha Yun Sheng practiced medicine to help the world, she was never a kind person. As for the Supreme God 8 Barons, there was no need to talk about him. He was the man who killed the leader of the Shi clan in one night and exiled hundreds of thousands of Shi clan members. He was never a kind person. However, the daughter they raised after going through so many hardships was as clean as the moonlight. They hoped that she would always be this clean. You know my mother. Ah, then you're the man my mother raised. Little Lingyu suddenly realized a problem. This was a big problem. Little Lingyu often heard the other main gods in the 8 Barons god realm say that some main god raised a demon concubine somewhere, and some main god kept a mistress in a golden house. She didn't expect her mother to be so daring as to raise a living, handsome man in the mirror. No wonder her father was always unhappy with this mirror. Little Ling Yu was conflicted. Should she tell her father this secret? However, her father was very scary when he was angry. He would definitely smash this mirror. The person in the mirror was silent for a moment. Alright, he took back his words. This Moonlight's logic was really different. If he hadn't seen this little girl being born with his own eyes, he would have suspected that this wasn't the daughter of Yun Sheng and Yi Baiming. She looked more like the daughter of that muddle-headed world deity Bo. I won't tell Daddy. After an intense struggle, little Ling Yu decided to give up on telling him. The person in the mirror was inexplicably touched by little Ling Yu's kindness. He smiled. However, you have to tell me why you live in the mirror. Little Ling Yu carefully placed the mirror beside her. She looked like she was chatting with a good friend. Because only by doing so can I protect the most important person in my life. The person in the mirror answered honestly. He was a mirror spirit. In this world, other than the heavens mandate mirror, he had no other place to go. Wherever Yun Sheng was, that was where he lived. However, he wouldn't tell anyone about this except for this little girl in front of him. Even so, you can't leave the mirror. If you can leave the mirror, then you can play with me. As she spoke, a hint of loneliness that didn't match her age appeared in little Ling Yu's eyes. Her father had to manage the 8 barren god world. Her mother often took care of patients in the human world and god world. Her younger brothers, Ling Ri and Ling Guang, one was learning magic and the other was learning Do Qi. They didn't have time to play with her. She was the only one who didn't know magic or Do Qi. Because of her body, the people in the God Palace didn't dare to play with her too crazily. She could only play by herself. Little Ling Yu had never told anyone about this because she wanted everyone to see the cheerful and optimistic little Ling Yu. The person in the mirror sighed. The mirror floated up and the person in the mirror walked out. It's alive. Little Ling Yu carefully touched the person in the mirror and realized that she could really touch his hand. Just like that, little Ling Yu and the person in the mirror became good friends. Ling Yu, why are you sweating so much? Yi Baiming and Yun Sheng walked over. The two of them stood together and looked so compatible. Little Ling Yu flew towards her mother like a little bird. Yun Sheng ruffled her daughter's hair with a doting look on her face. Recently, you haven't pestered your parents to play with you. Could it be that you found a new playmate? Yun Sheng always felt guilty towards this daughter of hers. She always wanted to find a way to remove the life and death talisman in her daughter's body. Before she found the life and death talisman, she could only give her daughter the cold shoulder. I won't tell you guys. That's Ling Yu's little secret. Little Ling Yu raised her head proudly. She finally had a secret of her own. That was, she had a good friend in the mirror. His name was Ji Rumo. He would always silently protect her and her mother. Chapter 1442. The question of who was the senior brother and who was the senior sister between the underworld god and the human world god had always been controversial. According to the underworld god's own memories, he was at least a few thousand years older than the human world god. When the underworld god said this, the human world god strongly objected. Damn Ming Ri, you have to take into account the age of your egg. When I found you, you were still a baby who couldn't cry. The world god Bo said angrily. That's right, she was the one who found Ming Ri. However, to be exact, it was the mother of both Ming Ri and Bo, Supreme God Four Directions, who found Ming Ri. At that time, Bo was just an egg and she happened to be beside Supreme God Four Directions. However, there was one thing that Bo said that was true. Ming Ri was indeed a baby who couldn't cry at that time. Everyone in the God world knew that before Supreme God Four Directions became a Supreme God, she was the #1 general under Emperor Huoyan. Although she was a woman, she was a famous god of war in the God world. There was a saying in the God world that it was better to suffer the wrath of Emperor Huoyan than to provoke Supreme God Four Directions. That was because any battle that Supreme God Four Directions participated in, no matter how strong the opponent was, they would all be killed. However, Supreme God Four Directions was a very benevolent god. After she became a supreme god, she adopted many orphans in the God world. Popo and Ming Ri were one of them. To be exact, Bo wasn't an orphan. She was just an egg that popped out of an ancient magic array one day when Supreme God Four Directions accidentally broke it. When Supreme God Four Directions saw that she was all alone, she raised her by her side. But for ordinary eggs, after a few months or even 10 months, they would break out of the shell and take shape. But Bo was different. From the moment she came out of the magic array, she started to learn how to talk and jump. The only thing she didn't learn was how to break out of her shell. Moreover, she was very strong, loved to cry, and loved to cause trouble. Helpless, Supreme God Four Directions had to bring Bobo along no matter where she went. Even on the battlefield, she was no exception. When Supreme God Four Directions heard that the underworld had the most serious rebellion in history, she brought the puffed egg to the underworld to quell the rebellion. Unfortunately, by the time Divine Venerable Four Directions arrived, the underworld had already turned into a sea of blood. The world deity of the underworld had died in battle, and even his pregnant wife had perished. The supreme gods of the Four Directions were enraged and started a massacre. They defeated the rebels of the underworld and sent their leaders to the 9 layers of hell so that they could never be reincarnated. Just as Supreme Divinity Four Directions was erecting tombstones for the underworld god and his wife, the puffed egg suddenly jumped in front of the wife. Mother goddess, her stomach is moving. Puffed egg pointed at the stomach of the god of the underworld's wife curiously. Only then did Divine Venerable Four Directions notice that there was a faint fetal movement in the belly of the god of the underworld's pregnant wife. Could it be that the child inside was still alive? With the help of the 4 cardinal divinities, a baby was carried out of the belly of the dead underworld god's wife. It was a very thin baby. Due to the lack of oxygen and nutrients, its body was much smaller than an ordinary baby. Its skin had already turned purple. The baby was so weak that it couldn't even cry. It looked like it could die at any moment. Divine Venerable Four Directions lifted the baby up and slapped it a few times, but there was still no reaction. What a pity, the baby couldn't be saved. Divine Venerable Four Directions shook his head inwardly. Mother Goddess, why is it so ugly? Bobo, who was still ignorant of the world, didn't know the pitiful condition of the baby. It's the ugliest baby I've ever seen. It hopped on the side, full of disdain. Bobo, don't say that. I'm afraid this baby won't survive. Divine Venerable Four Directions said regretfully. Wah wah, the baby's throat, which had already stopped breathing, suddenly let out a loud cry. Look, Mother Goddess, it's so ugly that it's crying. Bobo was instantly amused by the baby. Divine Venerable Four Directions was dumbfounded. He looked at the crying baby, then at Bobo, who was beside it, laughing so happily that it forgot itself. He made a very helpless expression. Just like that, Divine Venerable Four Directions brought the only bloodline of the underworld god back to the god realm. She named him Ming-Ri and began to carefully raise him, hoping that one day he would inherit the position of underworld god. Slowly, the baby that Bobo despised for being ugly to the point of crying grew up day by day. After he turned 3 years old, little Ming's son transformed at an astonishing speed. His appearance was just like his strength. He became more and more outstanding day by day. On the other hand, Bobo, who grew up together with Ming-Ri, was still an egg, unchanged for many years. Later, Cardinal Divinity Four-Way received orders from Monarch Inferno to head to the divine world to suppress a few traitorous gods. After some consideration, Cardinal Divinity Four-Way wasn't sure how long it would take to quell the rebellion. For the sake of Abyssal Sun and Popo's growth, she decided to leave the two behind in Cardinal Divinity Four-Way. Before leaving, Divine Venerable Four Directions repeatedly reminded Bobo to take good care of her junior brother, Ming-Ri. He agreed with a loud bop. At that time, Puffed Egg was 10 years old and Ming-Ri was 5 years old. But what happened next was completely out of Divine Venerable Four Directions' expectations. Ming-Ri was a very hard-working child. Every day after he finished his cultivation, he would obediently prepare the food. When he finished preparing the food, Bobo, who had played outside for a day, would rush in like the wind and eat all of Ming-Ri's food. Ming-Ri silently cleaned up the leftovers and began to prepare the food again. When Ming-Ri finished his meal, he prepared a moderately hot water to take a bath to get rid of his fatigue. After playing outside for a day, Bobo, whose egg was full of mud, rushed in like the wind and took a bath comfortably, leaving behind a wooden bucket of muddy water. Ming-Ri silently poured away the bath water and boiled a new bucket. The only thing that Ming-Ri didn't need to do was wash Bobo's clothes. That was because Bobo was an egg and didn't need to wear clothes. 3 years later, when Divine Venerable Four Directions quelled the rebellion and returned to the Four Directions world, she suddenly found that her little disciple, Ming-Ri, had suddenly become an omnipotent little cook. He was proficient in cooking, boiling water, and cleaning. In this way, Bobo and Ming-Ri spent more than 10 spring and autumn together. Ming-Ri had grown into a handsome young man who made the goddesses of the heavenly realm scream endlessly, and Bobo was still an egg. Ming-Ri's talent in magic and Do-Chi was amazing. He had long become a famous young genius in the heavenly realm. And Bobo, who knew nothing about magic and Do-Chi and had poor talent, had long become a famous weak egg in the heavenly realm. These things when Bobo was young he didn't know. When he grew up a little he found that he was often bullied. Everyone called him a weak egg. Chapter 1443. Being called a weak egg. Even if Bobo was not sensible, he understood that this was definitely not a compliment. Although Bobo was weak, her self-esteem was extremely strong. In order not to make things difficult for Mother Goddess, Bobo could only hide and cry every time he was bullied. On this day 4 Directions happened to meet Bobo, who was secretly crying. Bobo had no choice but to tell all his grievances to 4 Directions. So that's how it is. Bobo, do you want no one to bully you in the future? 4 Directions laughed twice. Mother Goddess, do you have any ideas? Hearing this, Bobo even forgot to be sad. It's simple. Although you are weak, you have a strong junior brother. Go find Ming-Ri and ask him to protect you from now on. That way no one will dare to bully you. Reverend Four-Way's rotten idea struck a chord in Bobo's heart. Bobo was overjoyed on the spot. Why didn't he think of Ming-Ri? In any case, he and Ming-Ri also had a strong revolutionary friendship. He immediately went to find Ming-Ri. In any case, he and Ming-Ri had eaten the same rice bowl and bathed in the same bathtub. They grew up as childhood sweethearts. The strong Ming-Ri would definitely promise to protect him. Worthy of being childhood sweethearts, Bobo found Ming-Ri very smoothly. After growing up, Ming-Ri was no longer the boy who could be easily bullied like when he was young. He did not speak much and was cold. Every time Bobo approached him, he would glare at Bobo with a gaze that could freeze people to death. It was as if Bobo owed him 100,000 yuan. Usually, Bobo would not be willing to get close to Ming-Ri, but for his lifelong happiness in the future, Bobo decided to communicate with the iceberg Ming-Ri. Ming-Ri, can I discuss something with you? Bobo asked weakly. Ming-Ri did not answer but raised his eyelids. Bobo immediately understood. This kid wanted him to say something quickly. In the future, can you protect me? Those gods outside bully me. They call me a weak egg. Bobo was very sad when he said this. It was really to hurt his self-esteem. If he could hatch, he would not be worse than those gods. And pop, pop. He felt as if he had heard a mosquito bite-like response. Ming-Ri, are you really willing to protect me? Bobo didn't expect that things would go so smoothly. Ming-Ri, the big iceberg, actually agreed to protect it. Who calls you a weak egg? I will explode his eggs. Ming-Ri replied unhurriedly. This sentence made Popo instantly smile, although it didn't know how Underworld Sun was going to explode. But Ming-Ri's next words made Bobo instantly depressed. In the future, only I can call you a weak egg. Ming-Ri continued to speak calmly. In the end, it was still a weak egg. However, being criticized by one person was better than being criticized by countless people. Bobo could only reluctantly accept this reality. However, Bobo immediately thought that since Ming-Ri had agreed to help it should return the favor and repay Ming-Ri. Ming-Ri, you helped me. How should I repay you? Bobo thought secretly. Anyway, it had no money and it didn't know how to cook, clean, or boil bath water. There was nothing to repay him. Then pay with your body. Ming-Ri's lips pursed into a raised arc. Bobo was suddenly scared out of his wits. He took a few steps back, looking as if he cherished his flesh more than his life. Ming-Ri actually said that he wanted to eat him. He knew that this bad boy was definitely not so kind. It was too terrible. This was 100 times more abominable and terrible than those gods who bullied eggs. Bobo no longer cared about Ming-Ri's protection and escaped like the wind. Looking at Bobo's escape, Ming-Ri's cool face showed a meaningful smile. Since that day, every time Bobo saw Ming-Ri, he would definitely hide far away. However, what surprised it was that from then on, no god dared to bully it anymore. Those gods who had mocked it were all beaten black and blue. It was said that a few of them had to lie in bed for several years. After Bobo heard this news, he was even more certain that Ming-Ri was coveting his meat. After thinking hard for a while, in order to protect its meat, Bobo decided to stay far away from the Underworld Sun. The best way to avoid the Underworld Sun was to leave the god realm. Not long after, a very good opportunity really appeared. That was the vacancy of the god world in the human world. The god world needed a master god to inherit the position of world god. After Bobo heard this, he shamelessly begged 4 Directions. He played the trick of crying, making 4 Directions restless day and night. In desperation, 4 Directions had to agree to let Bobo go to the human world as a world god. If Bobo passed the trial, he could officially become a world god in the human world. After Ming-Ri heard this news, he was the first to go to Four Directions. Mother God, Bo is not suitable to go to the human world to be a world god. There is a war between the human clan and the beast clan in the human world. With Bo's current strength, he can't suppress the human clan and the beast clan. Ming-Ri's concern for Bo was overflowing. Four Directions had long seen this. It was a pity that Bo, that simple-minded fellow, didn't notice it at all. Ming-Ri, I understand your painstaking efforts. You want to protect Bo. But soon, you will go to the underworld and inherit the position of underworld god. At that time, who will protect Bo? Four Directions sighed. Ming-Ri didn't let her tell Bo this news. Ming-Ri was silent. Ming-Ri, you and Bo are still too young. When you grow up, you will understand that true love is not for restraint but for growth. The underworld is your battlefield and the human world is Bo's battlefield. Four Directions said earnestly. Four Directions was experienced. She knew very well that if Bo and Ming-Ri wanted to be together, it would take a long time. Most importantly, Bo didn't have any feelings for Ming-Ri. Just like this, Ming-Ri and Bo separated. It was just that Four Directions and Ming-Ri didn't expect that after Bo entered the human world, the war between the Bakra orcs and the human race would erupt. Bo, who had a terrible sense of direction, got lost in the Duqian blood realm of the boundless continent. She was even unlucky enough to be injured by the powerful energy waves produced by the Eight Barons' divine weapon. Her fate was unknown. After hearing the news, Ming-Ri didn't care about being stopped and wanted to go to the human world to find Bo. But in the end, because the underworld god was busy and couldn't break the rules, he lost contact with Bo. In the blink of an eye, more than 3,000 years had passed. Everyone knew that the underworld god was famous for being cold. Whether it was in the underworld or the god world, he never smiled. But recently the underworld god had a rare smile on his face. That was because he found a treasure that he had lost for many years. When Ming-Ri found Bo again, Bo had already signed a contract with the human race and became the contract beast of a female human race summoner. When Ming-Ri first found out about this, he wanted to kill that human race summoner on the spot. But this time Bo, who had always been timid, refused to let Ming-Ri hurt her master no matter what. This was the first time Ming-Ri saw a different side of Bo. In order to let Bo grow faster, Ming-Ri had no choice but to let Bo stay by the human race summoner's side temporarily. But even so, he was still very worried. He secretly followed Bo. Even though Bo herself didn't realize it, the people around Bo seemed to already know. At first, Ming-Ri was a little embarrassed. But slowly he became good friends with those human race people in the human world. Among them was Yi Baiming, who later became the supreme god of the Eight Barons. Speaking of which, the two of them could be considered brothers in distress. Not long after meeting Ming-Ri, Yi Baiming had a belly full of bitter water with him. It turned out that Bo's problem of being slow in relationships was completely learned from her master, Yun Sheng. Bo, I don't have any feelings for you. Poor brother Ming-Ri, your road to chasing your wife is very long. But as long as you follow the method I taught you, the day will be near. Yi Baiming gave Ming-Ri an idea. This idea was called the 36 Stratagems of Ming-Ri. As for the specific steps of the 36 Stratagems of Ming-Ri, it was a long story. Ming-Ri really didn't want to go into detail one by one. In summary, it was nothing more than the following points. Thick skin, big courage, careful thinking, kiss if you can, hug if you can, make the rice that can be cooked is the way of the king. Ming-Ri didn't believe it at first, but after experimenting a few times, he found that Bo seemed to have started to change. Every time Bo saw him, her face would turn red and she would run away shyly. This was a good sign. But just when Ming-Ri thought that victory was in sight, a piece of bad news came. Bo went to the god world to accept the conferment of the human world's world god, but halfway she was kidnapped by the sinister Shi clan leader and locked in the Shi clan's forbidden area. He reported this matter to Emperor Huiyin, but because of the Wind King's obstruction, Emperor Huiyin had been unable to send troops to suppress the Shi clan. Emperor Huiyin and the Four Directions Divine Venerable never thought that the desperate Ming-Ri would actually kill the Shi clan with the help of Yun Sheng and Yi Baiming. Hundreds of thousands of Shi clan members were exiled, and the Shi clan leader was beheaded. These had become facts. For this reason, Ming-Ri was punished by the Four Directions Divine Venerable to stay in the underworld. Within 100 years he was not allowed to enter the human world or the god world. When Ming-Ri saw Bo again, she still rushed in like the wind like when she was a child. Ming-Ri, I don't want to not see you for 100 years. I told Mother Goddess. Bo's eyes were red and she still looked like a little lowly. What did you say? Mingri looked at Bobo lovingly. How could he be willing to not see her for 100 years? Bobo hesitated. Finally, regardless of the eyes of the underworld god palace guards, she hugged Mingri. Mother Goddess said that in the god world, only husband and wife can be together forever. Mingri, are you willing to marry me? Fearing that Mingri would not be willing, Bobo stood on tiptoe and bit Mingri's lips like what he did to her countless times. Marry her? There seemed to be something wrong. Mingri was a little surprised by Bobo's reaction, but at that moment he was dizzy with sweetness and responded to Bobo. After thousands of years of waiting, he had finally married his little egg-shaped wife and won their happy days. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.